Are you ready for Scrap Card Thursday? We're doing Christmas cards today. Come on in.
Hello everyone, this is Julia Laird with Senior Susie Stamps, and it's Thursday, so it's Scrap Thursday. I have some format for some Christmas cards today, and I'm going to try to use up a few of my little top embellishments that I made earlier this year. There is a video on that. And I have some white paper scraps here that I have put some washi tape on. I got washi tape out this time and some of my oddball embellishments, so those are good to use up. And I got some Hobby Lobby paper scraps this time, and they're cut in 1/2-inch strips, all of them. I have two different things to show you today. One is the diagonal mount on the square, and the other is the square mount on the square. The concept's the same, you just rotate your card. And so this is a 4 1/4 inch square card, and I have taken the center point here and here, and then I have come in and laid my little lifter, because this is a floating center card, and put my little points where the points need to go, because I'm going to run these through the Xyron. And if you know anything about Xyron, it's super sticky, so you don't have any wiggle room when you're putting this down. You need to get your placement right the first time. So this one drew my lines on the diagonal. This is actually the easiest one to do because you don't have to do the center line measurements on that. And then I just put my square, made sure that all 4 of my points were on those lines, and that assures you then that your little square is in the center of the big square, whether it's square to square or diagonal to square. Does that make sense? I hope it does. This is a 1 1/2 inch square that's double layered, so it's thick, and this is a 1 3/4 inch, so they're just a little bit different, and you will see a little different result on these strip cards that we're going to make. So let's get started. So we're going to run this through the Xyron machine, and one thing to note is you need to put your piece face down. Ask me how I know that. Yes, I ran my other one through face up, and of course the adhesive went on the wrong side. But the nice thing about this particular Xyron is it covers the whole sheet that way, and then you just come through and do a good burnish to make that adhesive adhere really well. And there's another little trick that I'm going to do here today on this card. Now this top surface is very sticky, and that little trick is I'm going to put just a little bit of ATG tape down on my mat, if I can get it to stick, and then it will be my third hand for holding this together. And you can't just do 2 points, you got to do 3, and that's why I mark those little tick points before I do my Xyron adhesive, because you can't pull this up afterward. And now I'm just going to lay my strips down, and when I start my strips, I start them right on the edge of my square, and then lay them right up next to it, and that's my first layer. And I'm just going to alternate these. And what you want to do is go around in the same direction, following your leader. And that helps to make your pattern come out nicely. And you just have to snug it up. And this works really well. If you have shaky hands, or you're not real secure in your placement of things, the Xyron is probably not for you, just so you'll know. And I'm going to alternate these strips and try to introduce an extra one so that you don't see the repeat pattern so much. When I did this washi, it was just a little bit wider than my 1/2 inch white scraps were, and I put it on and then hand trimmed it off, and it works really well to do it that way. And it uses up some of your washi scraps as well. This is a fun pack of paper to work with over the years. Now at this point you can trim these and use your cut-offs sometimes. So let's just go ahead and do that now and see if we can use any of these little pieces, since we have 2 cards that we're going to work up today. And we just keep moving around the pattern a little bit. Trying to make sure that we have really good coverage. And then when you come to the outer corners, that's when sometimes I like to go back into my scrap bin and pull a piece that will do this corner here. Let me move that out a little bit for you. I'm going to need to get a little bit more scrap here, and they end up very festive, I think. Let's see, maybe a little bit more of this one, you think? I think so. And at this point, we're just finishing those little corners with whatever we have left over. And that's fine. These little cards take surprisingly few scraps, if you want to know the truth of it. But they are a fun use of scrap, I think. And it makes scrap use a little less tedious when you have a lot of different card layouts in your scrap use toolbox, I think. And using the Xyron to do this makes it a lot easier and quicker for putting your strips down. But I have done this many times using my ATG gun and using glue, so don't feel like you need to get a Xyron machine. Just don't do it if you don't have one already. You don't need it to make your little stickers. You can use your other adhesive. Now I'm going to get rid of these little scraps here, and I'm going to put this up onto a 5 1/4 inch base. Let me get that. So these are some envelopes and cards that I got from Hobby Lobby several years ago when they were on half price sale, and they actually are 5 1/2 inch square. The ones that I cut are 5 1/4 inch square. Personally, I like the ones I cut better because the paper is heavier and the cards stand up better. But in the interest of using up some odds and ends in the studio today, I'm going to use these larger squares. So what I think I want to do is to put a little bit of glitter glue around the outside of this one. Let me see which one of these we like the best, and perhaps none of them. I don't know. They don't, any of them really quite seem to work, do they? Well, I'll have to get something different for the focal point on that. But we'll do the glitter glue now. This is just a Stampin' Block that has no grids on it. And this is some red glitter. I have no clue where it came from, but I suspect it came from either Walmart or the Dollar Tree. And I like to put my glitter on this way. I showed you this the other day. Especially when I'm just brushing it on a little bit. And I'm just going to do a little edge treatment like you would with ink. Just for a little shimmer and shine. That's all we're doing. And just a little glam to our card. Around the outside. And you can see how little bit of glitter that took. And you probably cannot see it on the camera, but it does add a nice little glam to the card. And then I'll just take these and wash them off. One of my embellishment trays, and I think some of these little things like this will work fine on these cards. Yep, I kind of like those. I'm going to trim. These were some little gift tags that I got from, I think, the Dollar Tree. I cut them apart because I'm only going to use the tops. I'm going to make sure this is square because we want it to be. And we're going to glue this down on top of this. And it will float on that little square there. So it's going to go like that. And I'm going to put a piece of foam tape underneath this. And you can see how using up these little cards, these little scraps this way, just make for an easy card make. And that center floats then. I don't know if you can tell it or not in the camera, but you can see how it kind of floats that way. And then I'm going to just mount this up with some glue because my glitter glue is not quite dry on the front yet. There. Now I'm going to set that aside to dry and let that glitter glue get good and dry. And then I'm going to come back and trim those little corners off, and we'll add a sentiment. Let's work on the second one. Okay, so this is the one that has the 3/4 inch square, and it's going to go on the diagonal. And I'm setting 2 points first, and then I'm putting that third point down, and the fourth one should follow automatically. If you get 3 of them down, you've got the fourth one for sure. There. And now let's get started. We're going to do the same type pattern. I'm going to put my first strip right next to this line that comes off of that square, and then travel around. See, if you start and come this way, your pattern gets kind of ruined. So make sure that you keep going in the same direction that you were starting out in. I can tell you this, that has messed me up more than once. It happens. So, it happens. This is an unusual pack of paper in the coordination of it, because it has this odd kind of black and white polka dot that I just never think about using, but it kind of works actually. Let's see if we can use some of these flags. They have a little shimmer and shine to them. That's why I chose this particular washi tape, is because it did have a little of the silver glimmer in it. Let's see. Do this one. And with your little floating center here, you get all your directional stuff going in the right direction, and that's helpful. And your square gets started square if you're careful about your starting points, and that's where you need to be a little extra cautious. Now this one that is square to square, the trim offs are going to be different than your other one. You're not going to have all those little bits. You're going to have some thin strips cut off. But the concept's the same. There. Now, you see what I'm saying here. You have to trim this long part off that way. Let me finish this. I'll be right back. Now I cut these this time at 1 7/8. And I think we'll put it in just right like that. And I'm going to glue this down to my little white square here. It'll lift it up off the card, and it'll give it just a little extra dimension. So that uses up some of my tag scraps, uses up some of my paper scraps. Got some glitter and glam going on there. And I've used up a few of my card base, commercial card bases that I wanted to get used this year. I'm going to go ahead and put some ATG glue down on this one, because it does not have the glitter around the outside. And I'm just going to put it in the center of the card as best I can. There. Now for the inside treatment on these cards, I've got plenty of these little strips to go back in the inside, so I'm going to put one down there now. And this little tag that I put in the center of this card already had the Merry Christmas on it, so the sentiment on the front is good to go on that one, but we need a little sentiment for the front of the other one. Now I want to show you about, see how flimsy that is. It will stand up, but if you load much more up onto that, it'll be a challenge for it to stand up. Now I'm thinking that this may need some little snowflakes or some little something on it. Let me go get some of those. Over there I got some of this red and green and white twine. I was thinking maybe a little twine bow up there on top of that white one might be kind of cute. Let's see if these little small white snowflakes will add anything. I think if we put some red gems on them, they'll be just what they need on that card. I'll put 5 of them on. And let me tie a little bow. Ah, get off my finger. Got some static cling going there. This is a 10-second bow maker, and all you have to do is search 10-second bow maker And I love it. I've had it for years. I've got one on 2 different desks in my craft area, and I use them all the time. Otherwise, I would never be able to make a little tiny bow like that, ever. Now, let's see if we like that. Yep, I kind of like that. I'm shorten these tails up a little bit. And put a little glue dot down. I'm going to roll it up into a little wad and make it smaller. And put it right there in the center of that little ribbon there. And there we go. And then I'm going to glue my little snowflakes down and get my red gems out. Let's just see what we've got here for red gems. I've got some, I think, in these little Anita's gems, and these are the 3mm ones. I've got 2 different sizes, 3 and 2. This is a little tray from Studio Katya, and I find that on these little tiny things like this, putting them out into a tray is very helpful. So let's get those glued down. It doesn't look like my snowflakes are sticking quite yet, but they will. She said. They will, I promise. That art glitter glue is wonderful glue. It's a little expensive, but it goes a long way. I have some other glues in my studio, and I keep thinking I might try them, but I just keep going back and order more art glitter glue. There. So that's a pretty little festive card, made totally from scraps and things that I wanted to get used up in the studio. And I'll show you the other card. I think I'm going to go back into my box and see if I have another one of those little tags that has the packages on it. Maybe. Oh, no, that's the... I'll set that one over there. Well, don't have... I was thinking perhaps I might be able to make an embellishment for the inside of that card out of one of these. Let's just see what we've got here. Maybe we can do it with the Marion Bright. Let's try that, see what it looks like. Actually, maybe I'll just make that the focal point here. Make that the inside sentiment. Wouldn't that be nice? And there's 2 little pieces of scrap used up. Yay! And some glitter and glam to go with it. Okay. Cordelia's over there playing with stuff. Now on this card, I think it's ready to trim off. I think that glitter glue's dried up. When you're trimming stuff like that, you have to make sure that you don't cut your card. Of course, that would be aggravating, wouldn't it? And I think we'll pull these for the inside. Maybe do a little red and white plaid strip. And then, yeah, come like that. That'll work. And tie the 2 elements together just a little bit. Now, I think something needs to go here in these corners, and let me see if I've got some little somethings for the corners, and I'll be right back. Well, I found some little gold stars that kind of go with the gold glitter, and so I think we'll try those up in the corners. And I made a little sentiment, just a simple Merry Christmas. Let's try these and see how they work up here in this corner. I think they'll be fine. I'm going to do a trio of them, and then do my little Merry Christmas down in this corner. Yay! I think that'll work fine. And I'm going to put it up on a little piece of foam so that it has a little bit of extra architectural feel in that corner to match the center just a little bit. And it breaks up that pattern paper just a little bit more, doesn't it? There you go. I might put a little extra tiny star on there if I can get a small one. Let's see if we can do that. There you go. Yeah. Well, I forgot my mic for that last part, didn't I? So I added some stars, and these are some dazzles from paperwishes.com. They have all manner of different little adhesive stickers like that. I made a little Merry Christmas label and put an extra star there. And on the inside, we're going to turn on the twinkle, and I'm going to see if I can find some way to make a little hanger for these little things here. So give me just a second, and I'll get that done. And both of these cards will be finished. Turn on the twinkle. Now I've got a little magnetic ruler here someplace. Here we go. And I think I'm just going to draw a line right there like that in my microfine pen. And I believe I'll do it in gray. There's one, and there's the second one. And I'm going to draw some little bows in. And that completes the inside of the card as well. Hope I didn't get my head in the way. If I did, I'm sorry. But I hope you enjoyed today's little video. And remember, if you don't have a Xyron, you don't need one at all. And it's a good way to use up some scrap card bases that you've got, some scrap paper that you've got, some scrap washi, and some little embellishments that you might have on hand. So come back next Thursday and we'll do it again. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.